Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hand-Built Pottery and Sculpture. My name is Kimberlie Wright, and this is our second part to our slip trail or slip trailing tips and techniques. So, although I am going to give people a couple of minutes to get on before I start my technique portion of the class, however, I'm going to go ahead and finish my dialogue that I had from yesterday. So I'll just go right into that. And if we are the only young people on the in the class today, that'll be fine as well. So getting started with slip trailing. I already said to you that I'm going to actually show you the consistency, the proper consistency today and everything, because yesterday I had gotten my actual slip together and had it settled, and it basically kind of like separated, so that's why it was so liquidy. However, it is supposed to have the consistency of mayonnaise. All right. So the tools and materials needed for slip trailing are simple and can be purchased or even fabricated in your own home or studio. Don't forget that I said you can use even a plastic bag with a little hole cut off of the corner. You can make an inexpensive slip by soaking dried scraps of your clay body in water. Let it soak until it's a slurry and a stir. If you need to grab a pencil and a piece of paper or a pen to jot down any type of comments or notes, please do so. Screen the slip to remove all the lumps and grog, sort of like rock particles, and store it in an airtight container. Grog, G-R-O-G, grog, is one of the things that's really formulated in the 105 schoolhouse clay that you guys use, because the grog helps it to, for a student, it helps the clay to be able to stand up, give it like a body or a stiffness. All right. For a simple trailer, use a condiment dispenser available in most large kitchen departments. A condiment dispenser. And if not, if you want to go ahead and purchase an actual slip trailer from an art supply store, go for it, if you are interested in this technique. If your trailer is not filled, remove the tip, squeeze the bottle, and insert the top of the trailer in the slip container. Ease off the pressure and allow the trailer to draw in the slip, then replace the tip. All right. Sometimes you can draw and slip just like this with this bulb. What they said is this is how the bulb looks without the actual tip on it or the applique. And this is the actual how the tip looks. Looks kind of familiar to me. It reminds me of the hot water bag from grandmama, like used to be hanging up, and it's actually the same type of rubber. It can be squeezed, and so when it's squeezed, you can see that slip coming up. It can suck in slip as you are trying to like actually feel it. That's what it's basically saying. The part that I just read to you all. All right. Before creating a design, practice using the trailer on a slab of leather. Remember yesterday this was able to bend, but today it's leather. I cannot bend this. If I bend it, it will break. You can even see now that I'm even holding it up. It's not even bending. All right. So we're ready with the slab. It's like leather hard. It's not completely dry because it's not like that light gray. However, get a feel for how the slip comes out and what kinds of lines you can make with it. That's what the slab is for you to practice. You want to be able to squeeze it, see how you are able to control the actual trailer. slip trailer. Spend time playing with different hand motions. I don't know if you're gonna squeeze like this, or you might turn it upside down like this, or you know, what they say is just try to get used to your feel with the slab before you even get started. If you're used to a brush, using the trailer will feel a bit awkward at first, like they mean by painting. It takes practice to squeeze with the right pressure and move your hand at a steady pace to get a smooth line. After a number of tries, you may decide that the applicator is too big or too small for your hand. If that's the case, you can find one that's comfortable for your use. All right, another thing I wanted to say to you with this particular slip trailer that I purchased from a regular art supply store, I said to you that it had a round tip and a ribbon tip. The ribbon tip, again, is just like a slit. You can see that to the side a little bit. And as you roll it, it's gonna come out looking like a strip or a band or a loop, sort of like when we use the movies. And this tip on the applicator is a round tip because it's gonna come out pressing things out in a round sense because it's a circle or a hole. And yes.
Yeah, it's like when you when I made a hot dog, I could use it like for that purpose of that little squiggly thing that I used instead of making a coil.
Yes, mustard and ketchup.
Okay.
All right, so now also I don't particularly use those type of tips, but they have many tips that you can purchase and they have different gauges. The gauges are actually how deep or excuse me, how wide the holes on the tips are open. So the gauges kind of like run from like, let's say 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The higher the number, 20, the smaller the hole is going to be. If you have a 16 gauge, then the hole is going to be larger. So they have different gauges of tips that you can purchase. If you see something like that, they're going to have like a little metal tip with the hole in it, and rather than plastic. All right, so once you're done experimenting, make a test tile with brushwork and trailing with each slip you're working with. Make one tile for each glaze you want to try. Okay, that's something else. That's just trying to give you like a project to do. However, we're going to move on to go ahead.
Can you hear me? I apologize. I've been on since the beginning, but I was on my phone and it wouldn't open up. So now I didn't get to see any of that consistency that you were showing because I had to go.
I didn't show anything and I'm not going back today because I'm going into my demonstration and we won't have that much time. So I wasn't showing anything. I just gave a whole speech about how to use the slip trailer and what to do as it pertains to getting comfortable with using it. I was just talking. I didn't show anything yet.
Okay.
I'm about to show that now. But while I am showing, I'm basically going to be saying the same things that I just said over. Meaning like it's the basic thing what I was talking about is getting used to using a slip trailer and how to get started. So now that I'm getting started, I'm basically going to go back over the same stuff again. All right. So yesterday I showed you about 4 pieces, but I'm going to go ahead and move my camera closer and so that you all can see better. And I have this little baby spoon that I think I can kind of show you some good consistency. Let's change this. Sorry. Give me a second. All right. So somehow. All right. Okay, that's good. All right. So I think I'm kind of just going to prop this up on this towel. so to speak, although it really needs to lie flat. So I just have this cup here to show you the consistency, again, how the slip is supposed to look. I'm going to shake it first because I'm almost certain and sure there are some lumps in there. And if you already see this on the top, if I turn it over, you see that it doesn't fall out because it's thick like mayonnaise. Although it's smooth, but it's thick like mayonnaise. So that's about the consistency that you want. I had to show you with that spoon because I didn't want to get my hands all messed up before I start. All right. Once again, you'll see the consistency as I push it out of the dispenser and the syringe. However, this particular thing, I have it open as well to show you how the applicator looked, but because I just added some new slip to this and it needs to kind of thicken up, so I'm allowing air to get in there. So that's one way. If you find that your slip is too thin, then you can add chunks to it and mix it up some more, or you can simply leave it open overnight so that it can, some of the air can dry out. All right, so I'm gonna shake this really well. This is the applicator that I wanna use. And I'm going to Wright. So I'm just gonna turn it towards my way, and you're supposed to drag the applicator. You can write as if you're writing with an ink pen, like a pencil. You can hold it like so. Whatever you feel comfortable, that's what the instructions I was just giving everybody, Miss Deborah Bell, is to tell everybody. You have to kind of play with it on your slab first to get comfortable with the material, with the supply, the tool, sorry. And you can see however it looks, that's how it's gonna look when it comes out. I'm gonna go ahead and finish what I'm doing. However, it might shrink a little, but what you see is, again, what you're gonna get. Sometimes if it stops, then you wanna shake again. And I always have like a a toothpick to just kind of reopen my hole up if I have any issues with it getting clogged. Sometimes it's getting clogged, like I said, because it has chunks inside. Okay. So far, this is what I wrote.
Yay. Mm-hmm.
All right. So right now, even though I just wrote that on the slab, I might go back and show you some little techniques on that. But however, I wanted to again show you that I did this pre-design. I'm gonna call it something about the eye, but I don't know. That's why I have an eye in the middle. And once again, I told you all that I made these shapes by just sitting a cookie cutter on there and tracing it however I wanted it. So sometimes giving yourself a design first will help you with your lines. This is a skeleton that I did from yesterday, but so far I've put eyes and nose on there, but I'm gonna really make it really detailed. So right now we're just gonna go ahead and do a little bit on this eye. And as I'm working, if anybody has any questions, you are more than welcome to unmute yourselves. And if you have any questions while I'm working, feel free. So one thing too, if you have to lean on your piece, you know how sometimes you have to bear your hand on certain things to kind of steady? I always say, for me, you work from the inside out. Don't start here and then you're not able to go in the inside. And another technique is, I just have to tell you this because it's very important. Excuse me. So when sometimes the pieces we have are fired, and sometimes the glaze could pool into one area, because when glaze is fired, it becomes glass-like. So you've had some pieces that I told you all to be careful. You have to put a piece of felt on the bottom because the glaze might have pooled or raised and it becomes like sharp. So one thing you're gonna have to do, this piece that I just did with Deborah on it is not ready. However, you can see that when I hold it up, it's just not running down or sliding down because the consistency of that slip is like mayonnaise. But however, when this dries enough, just like leather, you will know. If you put your hand on it at any time and it punctures or messed up, you'll know how long not to touch it or whatever. But I feel like as long as you look at it, it's still a sheen on it, it looks really wet, it's not time. But once your slip trailing design is dry, not bone dry, but almost to the bone dry type of level, because it's like thin, you want to gently rub your fingers across, like not like pressing down, but you want to slide your fingers gently across your entire design on whatever you put it on, because you want to see if anything feels sharp. If it does, you want to gently, I want to say smooth, smash it out. That's like a new word, smooth and smash, but very gently and lightly wherever you feel some type of raised or sharp, like raised pieces or raised textures under your finger. You want to smooth them out.
I'm
Can you
concerned
just use a
because
little brush to do it? I'm sorry. Can you just use a little brush to smooth it out?
You basically want to use your finger because your finger is feeling what feels sharp. It's your touch that's actually going to feel it. A brush, if the brush is wet, it's almost like you re-moistening the re-wetting the slip trailer. But if the brush is dry, it's not going to do anything but dust around it. Go ahead, Ms. Vicky.
Well, Kim, wouldn't that slide off your clay? You've taught us about scratching and making sure the clay adheres. So the purpose of the little mark that you made, is that so that it can adhere a little bit, or
what mark? These marks right here?
Yeah, but what causes the slip not to just come off, like not?
All right. So you don't want to, first of all, what's the reason why you're applying the slip trail to leather hard clay?
Because it can still adhere. It's not bone dry, so the moisture from the leather is still enough moisture to connect that that slip.
That's one answer, but the main reason why you are putting slip trail that's one reason, Ms. Deborah, if everybody heard that, so that you can still have some moisture in the clay that will help the moisture from the slip trailing adhere. That's one answer. However, the reason why you're applying to leather hard clay is because you have to handle it. And if you are doing like a mug or a bowl, you don't want to be picking it up, putting your fingerprints in it or changing the shape. That's why it's supposed to be already almost at the point where it's at a finished product. But however, since you are in the learning process, you are able to put slip trailing on bone dry clay, which is greenware. But I recommend or suggest that you do not do that, because if you don't know what you're doing, if your consistency of the slip is not proper, it will just crumble off.
Okay.
That's why I said use, again, with the moisture in it, it will adhere, Ms. Vicky. And you can, anybody else keep going if you have any questions. I'm just gonna go ahead and start trailing so that,
Well, I have sort of a question like what Vicky was saying, because we scratch and use slip to connect to pieces that are already greenware sometime.
right.
And we have to moisten that greenware enough and scratch it so that when we put the slip in on and then connect that other part so that it doesn't fall off. I had a similar situation yesterday that I had to just completely take off because where I tried to, and I used slip and put another piece on, but the piece just snapped right off. And so I'm having to start over. So I'm thinking, you said this slip here for slip trailing has to be a certain consistency to be able to use it like a connector so that it won't crumble, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at this and thinking, well, maybe I could just use this consistency of slip trailing and connect that other piece. But
You can,
what,
but once again, wherever you connecting it, the piece, it still has to be moistened. It can't just be completely dry. Because this is not completely dry. This is still wet. It take a week for it to completely dry. I just made this yesterday. Even though it's leathered, like it's hard enough, it's still not dry. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying everything you're saying is right. The piece probably came apart in some area because it wasn't properly moistened and smoothed together with the other one. That's what I'm saying. It's really kind of difficult to apply something wet to something completely dry. You have to know what you're doing. But using this consistency might be a little better to help. It's like mayonnaise. Don't forget that.
What
So
you're
I
saying
had
is
my,
that we have more than one technique now that we know about, because that was the first technique in beginning pottery that I knew about, the coils and the scratching to attach things. Now this is another technique that's a little bit more advanced.
it's not advanced. Anything is basic and something to learn how to do. The advancement come with your skill and what you put into it.
So when are we going to go past the baby steps? When we
You go past the baby steps just from your technique. Every time, it's like, who out here walks the best? What I'm saying is, like, we all had to learn how to crawl before we could stand up and walk. So now we all know how to walk. It's not like nobody walks the best per se. I don't know if that's the best example to use, but however, it's like cooking. The first time you cook, I don't know if you, unless you was watching your parents or grandparents or somebody who knew how to cook, you didn't know what you was doing. And then even still, you had to practice to get better. The more you did it, the better you got. So it's not about, it's about just being yourself and putting your technique into it, and definitely being original, because as you get better, you'll tell yourself that you better and you feel confident about what you've mastered and what you've done. You know, if you're not doing the best job that you can do, or at this time, maybe it is, but if it's something that you feel, some areas that you feel a little weak in, then you have to continue to work on that and, you know, like not give up. It's not a thing about going past baby steps. Everything that you learn, you're gonna always keep doing. Meaning, even
true.
this is the whole mastery of being a potter or a ceramicist. Even I'm doing this right now. I'm probably almost certain or sure that I could probably do it better if I was off this call or this class and concentrating better. But however, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you might be in a setting where you what people want to see you create your art right on the spot.
Well, I have a question, Kim. Also, the slip you're using right now, you could have used some colors in that one bottle, and it would have been a
Not
different.
colors, one color. In the slip, yes, I can mix some color in my slip, but it can't be some colors. It needs to be one color.
I'm talking about if you have 5 of those bottles, one each bottle could be a different color, and
Yes,
okay. I just wanted to make sure.
yes, you have to know what you're doing with that as well. Because when you mix color with slip, you're only using small amount of color. So I know I'm just gonna show you all another technique what you can do, but however, I have to do this line first.
So to add the color, would you recommend powder or can we use the liquid in there?
You can use liquid or powders. Yep, you can use liquid or powders.
Could you use another medium like acrylic?
No,
Okay.
clay is, we already know that glaze is only formulated clay. Glaze is clay. That's why clay is gonna be baked right into, like this is gonna become a part of it. You're not gonna be able to scratch it off once it's fired. So basically you wanna stick to the materials that really go with this because they have certain chemicals in them. Yeah. So anyway, even though you can make, let's go back to this for a second. I don't know if you can see this now, but even in that little time, Miss Deborah, this name Deborah has dried even more. It used to have a sheen, but it doesn't have a sheen now. And just looking at it, I only see one point where I raised the bottle up that would probably be something sharp. But however, don't forget that you can do long squiggly lines as long as you keep your trail moving. You can do dots. There are all types of shapes and designs that you can do. So that's what I wanted to show you. And once again, you can see that it's standing up. It's not rolling down. It's standing up because it has this consistency of mayonnaise. And so right in this area, I'm just gonna add some dots. One, I need to count these so I can do each one the same the next time. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you don't have to be perfect doing this, you know, just take your time and have fun with it. And I'm gonna go in between.
It's like if you're making a birthday cake.
Yes.
Okay.
But you still have to get used to your tool, your applicator, and get used to your squeeze. You know, that's why you just want to have a slab on the side. If it gets clogged, you want to be able to have that to be able to shake and squeeze out. Now, what would you do if you made a mistake? Like if I actually squares this and it squirted out, what would you do?
Wipe it off.
Wipe it out.
You would do what?
Wipe it off.
Yes, you just take your sponge and wipe it off. Try to get
So,
in there.
Kim,
Or maybe you could use a brush if it was too small and wipe it out.
okay, so the thing that I see about this that might be a little limiting, the design and everything is beautiful, but unless we are thinking of when that's fired, that there won't be any color on the base, okay, so let me start again. If we were to use colored slip trail, you know, for our design on top, and it's fired, that means that we now have color, but the plate itself is going to just be greenware. I mean, it's going to be now a bisque, and we still have to come back and paint that, or just resolve that the plate itself is going to be white and the color that's going to be brought in there is going to be through the slip trail.
If you were to just use, okay, yeah, say like if you're at this stage right now and you're using colored slip trail for your piece. If you wanted to, yes, you could leave it white and see how the colors come out on the white background. But however, if you want to experiment with painting on greenware, not leather dry clay, once the slip trail has dried, the colors has dried completely, and this piece looks gray enough, dry enough. This is not, I'm not saying the dark gray, you know, when it's like almost white per se,
Yes.
greenware. Then if you want to go back and, it doesn't even have to be, well, I was gonna say you can go back and glaze that greenware. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm saying that, okay, so with this practice here, so that you don't interfere or mess up the slip trailing, because that's going to be a certain color. And, you know, for me personally, my hand isn't always that steady, that instead of trying to glaze around all those little dots and put another color, maybe put the color on while it's still leathering, and then put the slip trail on top of the plate that's already been glazed with color, because I just see it being a little messy to come back after the fact, after you put that slip trail on there, and then try to glaze it.
Okay. Also, I want to say that yeah. So also I want to say that with the techniques of adding glaze to your slips. Don't forget that I said to use your own glaze, mixing them with the slips, because that's very experimental. However, this is just one, I do understand what you're saying, Miss Deborah. This is one thing I gotta say. Say like if I, definitely, that's one thing that you can add color to your slip trailing. Now say if I'm gonna fire this without any color to the slip trailing because it's already just slipped. Let's say if I painted this whole, say if I painted this whole circle right here with brilliant red. Y'all know that when you use glazes, the glazes turn to liquid while they are in the kiln. And the glaze is going to run off of the dots, so to speak, or the slip trailing somewhat and pool down into the bottom. And so it's going to give the appearance that the bottom is darker red than the actual raised part. Because it's going to sort of, again, pool down.
That's going to be a design in itself with those circles around the balls.
So all I'm saying is, like, you don't have to worry about painting all around that, because one option is I could just say I'm painting this whole thing green. Maybe it looks like a cactus. Either I paint this whole circle right here green on top of the dots too. It's gonna pull down off the dots where you can probably still see some white through it, so to speak. Now, if I wanted to go back and use a brush to just touch the tips with some orange or something, I can't even say that orange might not run off a little bit. That's just how glaze works because it's liquid. And I always say, people say, Mr. Cumberland always say in class, the teacher done broke my pot. Or I said, I didn't pot and kiln broke. And he be like, no, you broke my pot. So some people be like, how did my glaze get like this? You know, knowing that they painted it some other kind of way. I always try to tell people it's not my fault, and it's not even their fault. It's just if you read some of the jokes or some commentary on ceramics and pottery, that's one of the most funniest jokes in pottery that you don't never know what's gonna happen in the kiln process. Some people say I made such a beautiful piece last night. When I opened up that kiln, it was in 100 pieces. Meaning like you can't help that. It's just experience. People might say, well, why did it happen? Like it could have been because it's too thick. It could have been because it was too thin. It could have been the temperature was too much for it. It's all kind of reasons, but could have been the kiln wasn't right. But however,
I was shocked that mine came out. My abstract came.
What'd you say, Miss Vicky?
I was shocked my abstract came out
Okay.
without exploding.
So Kim, to get back to my question though, right now, before you put the slip trailing on, could I have put a color on the whole plate as my background color and then use the slip trailing in another color and then fire, excuse me, then fire the whole piece?
Putting it on wet clay, I'm just saying it's experimental because don't forget that the clay is also absorbent. It might pull some of your colors into the clay and you'll be like, wow, these colors so light. You see what I'm saying? Because when you painting on top of a dry surface, the glaze is gonna be directly on top of the surface. But because glaze is clay, being that it's on there wet, it might absorb into the clay a little. So again, I'm just saying it's an experimental process. If you might be like, well, I can't believe this came out looking like that. You know, y'all say that anyway. Ooh, look at my project. It's so beautiful. I didn't even know it was coming out looking like that or something to that nature. Yes, but you can definitely do that. I do understand that. Yes, you can paint the whole thing. It'll be experimental and add your, yes, so that you don't have to be worried about going in between stuff. Any other questions, young people? Go for it. So y'all are interested in doing this particular process?
Yeah, I'm looking at this in particular because what I want to make are some bowls, some dishes to go into my flower pots to catch water. So I'm thinking if I use this slip trailing as opposed to having done coils before to give it a little break by sitting flat on the dish, that I could just do some slip trailing around that dish.
Right.
Get a bigger hole and just do it like that, as opposed to having to do the coils.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Anybody else interested? Y'all gonna try to do something like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's quick.
You make it look so easy.
Yeah, because I'm on, look at that bubble on that A.
So that's sharp, right? That would be sharp.
That would be what?
Sharp. If it dried like that, if you left it, had you left it.
Oh no, that was it was just it came out too thick because it was like probably a chunk right there. Came out too thick.
You ought to give a project like that. I know of some things I could make using it. Well, I would like to experiment with it.
I just want people to actually do this if they want to try the technique, because I don't know about giving a project like this if everybody not going to get their own bottles. Everybody might not even be interested. I don't know.
Oh, well, you know, everybody not interested in making a bowl. You know, I don't like to make bowls.
You don't like to make bowls?
Because you always gave projects about bowls, and I make more like designs and abstract and things like that. But I've learned
a lot of abstract.
bowls.
I just need it for my table. I have a flower pot right now. Just bought a mum. And I was like, oh, but I need a dish to sit this in. So I'm going to make it.
You're gonna make what?
A bowl to sit my mum that I just bought.
Oh, okay.
Put that in there so it can catch when I water it so it doesn't run all over the place.
That's gonna be a while.
I made a cherry pie. That would have been great on my cherry pie for the showing
Whipped
how
cream.
the
The whipped
apple
cream. Yeah.
and all of that comes down, or the whipped cream.
Yeah. I could see the ribbon all over that cherry pie, like whipped cream. That would have been really nice.
Oh, that's a self-portrait, Kim.
Yeah.
Ah,
Who is that laughing?
everybody.
I know that was you, Miss Deborah. That was funny, Miss Vicky.
Wow.
And I need that to go with my yard display for Halloween.
What?
So Kim, when you decorate the teeth, you're saying that if you make them white, it might run down into the mouth?
You don't have to make the teeth white because the clay gonna already come out white.
Okay, true.
Remember, I always tell y'all don't have to paint what's white. Leave it. I actually want to erase these teeth because I think I can do a better job. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave them.
They look kind of creepy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and leave them because it make it look a little creepy. If I do them too straight, maybe it won't look right. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see how this is glistening.
Yes.
But this one is not glistening that much because it's drying. But however, I don't see any raised parts on it. You see how I can touch this? And it's not smashing. But even I felt a little bit get on my finger. So I don't wanna, it's not really dry enough to touch yet. But however, especially on the bumps, on not bumps, well, little dots and circles. Sometimes when you pull the applicator up, so to speak, I'll show you. Sometimes when you pull the applicator up, shake like this, y'all know it gets a peak on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about that may end up being sharp.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you have to press it down, but once it dries, you just have to rub it a little bit and it'll smooth out.
Okay.
You'll feel it smooth with your finger.
Okay. That's what I was wondering about.
Yes. So y'all go ahead and get to your abstraction. I know a lot of people are still working on your abstractions and your do-it-yourselves project, your DIYs, but we're gonna have some more classes that are basically showing you a lot of these hand-built techniques to give you more creativity to become the best that you can. Even some of these techniques if you made a plate in your baby stages, so to speak, that or some type of piece in your baby stages, if you think you're in your baby stages, then that piece will sell for thousands of dollars when over the point when you become so good like a master, your pieces might even go down a bit there. Because I don't know, sometimes as an artist, the first pieces that you make are some of the pieces that people really want to purchase.
Yes.
That's why I always say keep your first artwork. Don't ever give them away. Yes, ma'am.
What I found when I look back at some of the work that I did when I first learned how to use polymer clay, I was so excited about what that medium can do that I was just experimenting and doing stuff. And I look at some of that stuff and I like it far better than the stuff that now that I have got all these skills and techniques and know to do this and know to do that. I'm like, that stuff I was doing when I didn't know anything about that medium, I like better than trying to be so exact and perfect with what the skills I've learned. So I agree. I like finding and experimenting with new things.
So that's really, yep. And I wanted to say too, to what you just said, I know a few people that do raku firings, like with a metal trash can, but not only that, the people that I know that do a lot of raku artwork, they dig their own clay. I don't know if you ever know people to dig their own clay that they actually bake. Like, it's a lot of that.
I tried that. I still got a bucket of it out, where I had. I don't like that. No.
What is raku?
Raku, R-A-K-U.
Raku.
It's real pretty. It has like an iridescent shine or glow on it.
Okay.
And it
might
has
look
a rustic look to it.
Yeah.
So if you write down the word, if you want to, please, that'd be a good thing to kind of give you. I think the next class I'm gonna give you all some knowledge on a lot of the things that you probably don't know about in the ceramic or pottery world.
I really want to do some raku. I really would love to do that.
I was doing a lot of that in college. Raku ware, Miss Brenda, Fain, and everybody else, is a type of Japanese pottery traditionally used in Japanese ceremonies. Most
And
often,
what kind of ceremony?
it's usually used in Japanese tea ceremonies.
Okay.
Tea. In the form of a chowan tea bowl. In the traditional Japanese process, the fired raku piece is removed from the hot kiln and is allowed to cool in the open air. So they remove this stuff with tongs, these big metal tongs.
Mm-hmm.
You should look it up. You all should look it up when we get offline or whenever you get a chance. Look up raku ware or raku firing, or look at some raku artwork. You'll be really amazed. Yes. And so I love you all. Get to work.
Right.
Love you, Kim.
Wonderful weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Take care.
Happy holiday Monday.
Oh, that's right, a holiday. And what about Tuesday? Why is Tuesday a holiday? What are the kids out of school on Tuesday?
Early voting on Tuesday.
Voting starts.
Oh, so that's why it's okay. My grandson told me he was out of school Monday and Tuesday. I'm like, well, what is it? Why is it out Monday and Tuesday? Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. I love you all.